Good afternoon, all. This is Harsh here. I can see that there are a number of attendees who have already joined. Let's give others a couple of minutes. So give us a couple of minutes and we will start the session. I think the attendee number is already crossed 50. I believe let's start the session. So good afternoon all for joining. I'm honored to welcome all of you to the series of webinars organized by Seclor titled Embracing the New Normal. As part of this series, we are focusing on insurance sector today and discussing the topic of protecting your insurance data when it matters most. I would like to take this opportunity and thank all of you for taking out time on a Friday afternoon to attend this webinar. We are really grateful to you. I'm sure that at the end of this webinar, there will be some very good takeaways for each one of us. Before we get to the subject, I'm hoping that each one of you and your loved ones are safe and sound during this pandemic. Please take care and stay safe. These days of lockdown are presenting a lot of opportunities for transformation. Personally, I am getting to experience life with a different perspective, trying to change a lot of things in my life and shifting priorities. In all, we are embracing the new normal. And this, my friends, is a theme for a series of webinars Seclor has planned over the next couple of weeks. We have conducted a webinar a few days back, which was targeted for the audience in the pharma sector. And thanks to all the participants, it was a major success. As per my understanding, the insurance sector will have a mixed bag of reactions as the claims relating to health insurance in the near future will increase, whereas the demand for life insurance will go up. According to the experts, the number of people opting for health insurance will also go up as people will feel more concerned about the safety of their loved ones. And most importantly, people will start buying products online and also sharing their PII data through online systems. And a lot of the staff will continue working from home for a longer duration. I believe this will be one of the major challenges that the CISO community will be dealing with. Today, we are going to discuss an important aspect of business for the insurance sector: how to safeguard your critical data like PII during the pandemic. Before we start the webinar, let me inform all of you that we will be running a Q&A session at the end of this webinar, and we have enabled the chat section for this reason. So pop in your questions there, and just in case you miss anything, no worries. We would be sharing the recordings of this session with each one of you at the end of the webinar. We will also run a poll at the end of the webinar. I would sincerely request all of you to respond to the poll questions. I would like to start the webinar by formally introducing myself. I am Harshvardhan Lale, and I take care of the customer success practice for Seclor. My team's responsibility is to ensure that the product is successful at the customer premise. CSMs are the customer advocates internal to Seclor. All our existing accounts have a CSM, and I'm sure you are in touch with your respective CSMs. I have the honor of introducing to the audience two individuals who will share their views, their real life experiences with us. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Abhijit Tannu, CTO and co-founder at Seclor. He is the brain behind the product that Seclor is offering in the market. And let's welcome Mr. Abhishek Bansal, Corporate Vice President and CISO at Max Life Insurance. Abhishek is an MBA from Great Lakes Institute of Management. He is a certified ethical hacker and is a certified lead auditor for ISO 22301. In his current role, he looks after matters concerning cybersecurity, business continuity, privacy, and reputation risks for the organization. Before Max Life, he has worked with organizations like PwC, Data Security Council of India, and TCS. He's traveled across the globe and has rich consulting experience with both government and private enterprises. He has also contributed in matters related to public policies covering e-governance, e-commerce, smart cities, privacy, and cybersecurity. We will now proceed to the live conversation between Abhijit and Abhishek. We will wrap this session with a round of Q&A as mentioned earlier. Now, without wasting any further time, let's welcome Abhijit and Abhishek. Abhijit, over to you. Abhijit, I'm not able to hear you.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I was on mute. So thanks, Harsh, and welcome, Abhishek. Thanks a lot for joining this session. I think apart from all the things that Harsh mentioned, I think one of the key things, and we have been interacting for quite some time now, and one of the key things that I always seen that you have been a driver for a change, and there are a lot of initiatives that you have implemented at Max Life, which has brought in a lot of change. So considering the current situation, right, and I think a lot of us have gone through all kind of changes in our lives, both at personally and professionally. But what I saw was that Max Life was one of the early ones to kind of announce work from home even before the lockdown was formally announced. So sorry, so were you kind of prepared better prepared for this, or you were kind of anticipating this?
So first of all, let me begin by thanking Seclor, Harsh, and Abhijit for this opportunity to share my experience. I would say, I mean, these are unprecedented times. I know when I speak about COVID, and you mentioned about that we started almost a week before. We never anticipated this to go actually, so deep, so profound, and going ahead for more than 100+ days. We almost started when this as a more of a conservative step, when we heard one of the news items across where one of the peer organizations went into a lockdown for 2 of their offices, one in Noida and one in Gurgaon. That actually ignited a thought that whether we will have the capability to really see how we will perform in such a scenario. And that's where we took this as a proactive step to see whether our organization will be able to perform, and so to test that, we kind of did this a week before. And it was not really a case where we preempted this to go for so long as the overall pandemic scenario.
Right. So what were the big challenges that you faced because of this whole COVID situation?
Well, the challenges were galore. I mean, if I may start, as organizations, especially the Indian organizations, nobody is geared up for the complete work from home scenario, and there were challenges with respect to how do we ensure safety and security of our workforce. How do we ensure business continuity? With the safety of our workforce as well as our business partners was paramount for us. So the foremost challenge was how do we really make them enable as quickly as we can. But I must say that the preemptive step which we took as a conservative approach to enable our entire workforce to work, it was something which helped us out. Beyond, if I may say, the infrastructure challenges, as well as how do we ensure the safety of our workforce, no doubt there were nuances with respect to how do we ensure continuity of our business. And with continuity, definitely, and people working from outside the four walls of the organization, definitely the nuances become much more, whether it is pertaining to data security challenges, because now many people are asking for access which they were not having before, or they were restricted and monitored in a much four-wall kind of situation before.
Right. But apart from these, were there like some more insurance specific issues or challenges? I mean, of course, everybody went through infrastructure not being adequate for remote workers kind of thing, but besides that, I mean, were there issues, because specifically for you being in the insurance sector, were there kind of issues more specific to insurance sector?
So I would say, I mean, definitely, as you mentioned about infrastructure challenges were there with almost everyone, where people were trying to see how they can enable, with additional laptops or maybe even the personal machines, whether they can be secured and provided secured connectivity. The insurance sector definitely as a business has its own nuances, especially if I may say, and these are not really at the time when we started. Somehow, I mean, in last 2.5 months, almost every insurance company, be it life insurance, health insurance, general insurance, I guess almost everybody would have traversed through this trajectory. So let me kind of explain, if I may say, by taking a very brief example. Like, if I am as an individual, as I'm looking in for an insurance product, right, the first and foremost thing generally comes by is either I go and surf the website, or I go and connect anybody who I know of, or there could be a proactive call when I'm actually walking to my bank and somebody asks me, sir, are you really interested in any insurance product? So there is actually a TAT with an individual who educates you about that product. Now with COVID, the first point of interaction was that I don't want to meet anybody. It's like, if you want to feed me anything, why don't you give me digitally, and I'll see whether I really need the instrument for my own protection and my loved ones. I absolutely agree with what Harsh mentioned. There is an innate requirement, an upsurge which we are seeing in people's sensitivity towards buying insurance. But if you see the overall underlying process, which is meeting with the individual, going ahead, if I may take this value chain a little ahead, am I really comfortable in getting that health checkup person at my place, or I am really comfortable going to a hospital getting my health checkup done? So those were the other set of nuances. So though there is an increased need, but everybody wanted it to be more contactless. So the touchless service was something which was more, say, if I may say, an innovation which was bred as part of which is like a positive side of COVID. It has happened for all the organizations during this time. I'll just take a pause because you kind of asked more so from an insurance sector, but yes, I mean, the challenges are galore and the solutions have been, like, everybody has been thinking on their feet, run time to kind of have solution on those.
Right. But were there like some certain specific kind of let's say initiatives which really helped you? I mean, you mentioned about people wanting to do everything remotely without really meeting anybody physically, and the challenges would be there both from people who, I mean, you mentioned about people who are trying to buy the insurance product, but also for people who are kind of let's say trying to settle a claim, for example, right? And now is the good a time when a lot of people probably are in a acute need for that. So did you I mean, how did you kind of manage this, especially in an extended enterprise, right? We had a lot of external partners that you kind of working with. How did you kind of make sure that it kind of works seamlessly throughout the value chain?
So I'll kind of answer that question in two parts, because you first ask, what kind of, let's say, maybe pre-enablement was there to help you, live up to these challenges, right? And second, in a way, you're trying to ask that, this is all about extended enterprise, all about people asking for more information which they were not there in control before, and how did you actually enable that, how it was useful. So what enablement we had, how it was useful in actually empowering the two use cases which you spoke about. So no doubt, our initial investments into some of the solutions have helped us. If I may say, I mean, our early investments have been fruitful in this scenario, where we were able to provide the remote connectivity to all our people, be it our developers, be it basically the people who are doing support functions, all put together. And this also included, if I may say, some of the solutions which were more so automated, whereby it gives a more inherent confidence to us. Say, for example, people accessing certain amount of data from their home. So there is a limitation to which we can actually box them through VDI and VPN infrastructure, but also there is an ask that how we can help them work more seamlessly, how the collaboration can happen, how they can actually exchange these documents, how they can actually exchange this information. So I would say that our robust, if I may say, we have different pieces of data security controls put in place. And one of the key solutions is, I'm really glad to say that on this platform as well, that we have deployed Secure as one of the solutions, which gives us a leeway of actually controlling the rights on the information when it goes beyond our boundaries. So, I mean, these were some of the initial investments which have helped us actually take a leap, be a little bit more confident while we were enabling people with the increased infrastructure, whether it is internet connectivity or laptops put together, but both the network as well as the data security capabilities really helped us. Going to the second part of your question, which is more profound, if I may say, that when it comes to vendors, so no doubt, I mean, and this is not with Max Life alone. I think most of the insurance companies and even banks, to an extent, we are all dependent on a lot of our outsourcing providers. And when these outsourcing providers, and they perform actually varied roles during the entire customer journey, which could be which would start from initial call center calls for doing KYC checks, or maybe doing some calling for maybe doing some renewals. Third parties who are printing the policy packs, which have to be dispatched to the end users, right? And definitely the partners who may be involved in some of the tasks, like enabling payments and settlements, as you said. So I mean, no doubt, I mean that come in as one of the key portions. So again, I would say there was no silver bullet. We had to walk mile with multitude of solutions. We have to enable some of our remote party workers with equivalent solutions, as we were kind of thinking of, like VDI and VPN, which was very untoward and unthoughtful at that point in time, because these were really, really unprecedented times. I mean, we couldn't ask for an alternate location because the entire country was under the step. So, so those were, I think, few of those elements, if I may say, in the initial investments, reaping in the benefits there, which helped us in combating this to a large extent.
Got it. Yeah, that's quite interesting. And what has been the role of IRDA during this period? I mean, are there any new guidelines, or are there any changes to the regulatory side? I mean, how are they reacting to the COVID-19 kind of situation?
Interesting question. IRDA, I mean, the parent regulator for the insurance company, I think they have been playing a very balanced role in terms of actually looking into how the interest of the end consumer is safeguarded. So one of the initial circulars which we received was primarily that how we can help the patients who are there with COVID and help them expedite their claims. So those were those were like kind of few of the regulations and the mandates which came in which were there. And second was, I think they were very agile to kind of react on towards the actual need of the hour. So there were controlled dispensations which almost all companies have to ask for from IRDAI, given basically the constraints. And they actually kind of looked into the pros and cons, and they have been actually very affirmative and supportive, if I may say, throughout, in putting up the right balance. And no doubt they also have been asking about what are the controls we have put up in BCP, how we are taking care of our so they have kind of laid down the entire set of structure, and they have been sharing practices from certain, and likewise that what has to be done, how do you need to be more careful. In fact, I still recall one of the things was not only about the business continuity, about the customer interest, but there was also one communication about how the safeguard can be done against the cyber attacks, which are in fact increased due to this entire COVID scenario, where hackers were playing not only what they usually do, but also on the sensitivity of people around this entire subject. And there was a huge upsurge, if I may say, across the industry sector, not only insurance, across, if I may say, across the industry sectors on the phishing and the spear phishing emails. Maybe mimicking them as WHOs and the likes, to say that there is an information you can go ahead and click, and that's how they were trying to do it in. So I think IRDA played out a very well-balanced role, looking into all the areas, and they have been very supportive in this time of need to support the end customer and the companies.
Right. Yeah, so I think this, like Harsh mentioned earlier, right? I mean, a lot of these changes that are happening, I mean, although some of them might be temporary, some of them will probably will stick around with us even after the COVID crisis is kind of diffused, right? And I mean, that's what we call as the new normal. And we're already seeing many of our employees who are kind of working from home, and now they're kind of working from whatever the small town or wherever they have come from, and they are happily enjoying their extended family time as well as working remotely, right? I don't even know whether they want to come back to the crowded city of Mumbai, right? But what do you think? I mean, from the insurance side, what is the new normal look like, right? What are the things that will probably stay with us even after the COVID crisis?
Well, I'm not sure whether the people who have gone back home are really enjoying, or they'll be longing for the COVID actually to stop as soon as it can be possible, and they can get back to office the first day. But I wouldn't disagree that there is a sizable population who is also putting up a request that in this new normal they are definitely able to kind of balance out both their personal and professional lives. And can this really be elongated? To answer your question, the way I hear it is that you're saying that definitely there has been a change in almost all the companies, allowing people to work from home. But whether all of this is going to be long lasting, or we are seeing this as a temporary, a kink in the overall flow. So the way I see personally, I mean, these are all my personal views, and definitely some of them align to the overall insurance industry as well, is I see personally three things which are going to change big time when we are talking about this entire post-COVID scenario. So one is definitely the entire transformation in business. So as I was kind of iterating a few minutes back, that in the insurance life cycle, predominantly a lot of those physical touch points were there, and because of this COVID, there have been a lot of innovation where majority of the companies have actually gone through a contactless service model. Now this is given a new way to kind of interact with customers, where you are displaying, let's say, maybe your digital ID, where you are actually getting their proof of IDs and addresses in a digital format. I know, I mean, there is a movement which has started with the Aadhaar authentication, but for insurance, I mean, still it's yet to be implemented because of the stay which happened year and a half back. So one is with respect to, if I may say, that entire digitization and the transformation journey which has resulted in. So the benefits which people will be able to perceive, I think they're going to continue with this digitized way of speak today. Within India, the COVID has signs of still. So the another thing which I really see is that the work from home capability is here to stay and stay for long, and there are reasons for it. So when you mention new normal, I'm not seeing this as COVID alone scenario. I'm seeing as COVID-like scenarios. So the moment we say COVID-like scenarios, the organizations, if I may say, and there were a plethora of articles across the magazines that whether people have actually factored in pandemic as part of their business continuity plans and whatnot. But there was no parallel figure which says almost 70% organizations have never thought of this kind of scenario. So they were always thinking of an alternate site, an alternate location, an alternate country. But now, whether it is basically, the senior management from the companies, or it is, even customers in some of the MNCs, they're all demanding, practically, can this be an alternate solution, can be a work from home solution. So I definitely see that change both from an organization perspective as well as from, the industry perspective, that is work from home is going to continue. There is a third element, since I mentioned that the 3 points, which I really see as an offshoot of this. So as of now, we are just trying to be more comfortable that yes, there is a work from home going on, but the cases are still the cases are still increasing in almost all the corners, and we all know the situation which is happening in Mumbai. So this is just a food for thought, if I may say, to all my peers and people who are there, and in the audience as well, that today you may be managing the security. Let's say, if I hypothetically speak, let's say, my team has 20 people actually working for me, helping out secure the entire enterprise, across, whether it is monitoring, whether it is, it's across the layers, right? So what if 50-60% of my team members get infected? What if they're not able to work? I mean, they may not be infected, but their family members or whatnot, so they are not actually able to render services today. So what will happen? So when organizations are actually planning in for this, the business continuity with work from home scenario, they're also going to look at the reduced capacity. And this will actually trigger, in my view, a lot of automation. And what this automation will result in, that the focus will be on more and more niche skills. So when we're talking about all the commoditized functions, all the functions, where things are quite, if I may say, monotonous or dependent on certain things, or they are very well laid out algorithms to kind of work out, I see a lot of them getting digitized and automated in the near future. So these are the three key trends which I see, and I see them actually lasting long beyond what we see as a post-COVID scenario.
That's very, very insightful, Abhishek. Thanks a lot. I think those are very interesting observations or possibilities. I mean, considering you also, I mean, security or data security more specifically is one of your key focus areas. What do you think would be the changes that will happen from a data security standpoint when organizations start looking at or planning for their security architecture?
Interesting.
And,
I think,
and just if I may add, just what would be more specifically the role of data-centric security in that?
I think interesting, and this is something which is all the more, if I may say, on top of the mind of all CISOs, if I may say so, because the very notion or the mindset of, let's say, working within the four walls or the perimeter is now being shed. So it is not like that one can really allow certain things within the office premises where you have boundary controls. The asset can never be moved out of the office, and that's where you think that the network security controls or the perimeter controls can really play an action. No doubt. I mean, there are buzzwords also around, floating around in the security space, like zero trust network access and the likes, which talk about, if I may say, but the philosophy still remains the same. The philosophy is what you are actually alluding to, I think, with your question as data-centric security. That instead of actually looking at network, can I be really focused onto my applications and my core data, which is very core to the organization, which is something which is we don't want to actually move out or get breached at any cost. So no doubt, the way I see the future moving ahead is definitely going to be more controls around data security, and there has to be an enough balance, if I may say, in terms of rather than being a naysayers, people will still have to allow sharing of data. So a secured way of sharing data is something which I believe is definitely going to play a huge role in the future, in this post-COVID times. So if I can be rest assured that my data cannot be misused once it is outside my boundaries, once it is, let's say, maybe, and I can actually willingly, easily allow my people to actually leverage the data for their functions, whether it is my business partners, whether it is my team members. I think that is definitely going to be the core which everybody should be looking at as we move along.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it's more like security as an enabler rather than a blocker, which is how normally a lot of people look at it, right? So yeah, interesting. That's great, fantastic. So thanks a lot for those insights, Abhishek. I think it has been really helpful. I'm sure a lot of our audience who are from the similar domain would definitely benefit from this.
In fact, I have one question, Abhijit, if you allow. I know this was
sure.
I was called in to share my experiences, but if you allow. So being in a data-centric company, I mean, Seclore is a product which has been there now for a long time, and you're helping out clients. So how do you see the product innovation really going along, and which can be leveraged by people like me in actually helping out in different use cases, whether it is insurance or any other industry?
Yeah, very interesting question. So yeah, so there are a lot of things that we are doing. I mean, if I may talk about a couple of them. So one, we very recently released our integration with our O365 platform, and we believe that a lot of organizations, especially during this COVID time, but even otherwise, are kind of migrating to adoption of cloud. And one of the big concerns over there is what happens to the security of my data, right? Because once it is outside of my enterprise boundaries, how do I make sure that it stays secure? So that's where we have released our connector for O365, which can automatically protect this information within the O365 platform, and make sure that people who can access it inside O365 platform are the only ones who can access it even after you have downloaded it and mailed it to your friend, right? The other thing which we have released as one of the innovations, and which is used by a lot of banks today, is what we call as a data collection portal. So it's essentially what the problem that you talked about earlier, right? That there are a lot of scenarios where we need to, or banks or insurance companies need to collect data for individuals, and they want to do it remotely and securely, to make sure that as these come as digitized copies, they are secured because it's personal information, and there is minimal risk or exposure for banks or insurance companies. So these data collection portal is basically allows any individuals to kind of upload their digitized documents. It could be bank statements, tax returns, PAN cards, and so on, and they can automatically get protected even before it gets delivered to, let's say, somebody in your team, right? Or let's say somebody in the claims processing team, or in the customer onboarding team, right? So it kind of minimizes the bank's exposure to any kind of PII kind of risk, right? So the chances that this data can be misused or can land up in wrong hands is almost zero, because it gets protected even before it comes into your infrastructure. So that has been that is something that a lot of banks are finding very useful in the current times, and we see that as something which can really help tide over this kind of a hurdle during the whole remote working and kind of completely digitized operations. Great. So thanks a lot, Abhishek. I think it has been great. Harsh, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Abhishek. Thanks a lot, Abhijit, for a very enriching session. And I see that there are so many questions that are here in the question section. I see some 10, 12 questions. So I'm not going to, I don't think we have time to really go through all of it. But let me ask a few to Abhishek here. I mean, these are coming from the from our participants. So I think it's important that we answer these. So Abhishek, the first question is, how do you see your approach to data protection and privacy changing going forward?
So I think good question. So I think one key aspect which I really see is, as I was kind of mentioning, so the entire paradigm of security has to be more going beyond the perimeters. So one has to see basically how the access control can be moved on to applications rather than actually to the network part, and the entire data security being more and more integrated in the entire chain. So what I mean by integrated is that I know there are siloed solutions which are available, which companies actually deploy today. Whether it is the entire data classification, whether it is entire data leakage prevention, or maybe when you talk about the likes of digital rights management. So all put together, and we definitely know what can be seen by people, with respect to whether it's masking, tokenization, or encryption. So I think all have to be seen, in total with a business specific scenario, and they all have to be built in like that. Say I gave in the actual use cases which we are undergoing, if I may speak, then where the call center person now is being enabled to work from home. Now they used to operate actually in a facility where it used to be completely pen and paperless. You can't take your phones in. It used to go through an API, and you can only see the information which is visible to you. But definitely you need access to information because you need to actually verify some details, or you need to actually call in some persons. Now, when somebody is at his or her own place, really, I have to give him access, but I am also now being cognizant of the fact that it's no longer a pen and paperless office. One can really record as many number of records whether they want onto the systems. So do we really need to kind of have, let's say, maybe additional monitoring? Do I really need to have select masking with respect to certain fields? Do I really need to actually utilize something like maybe the API SDK of Secure, if I may say, that where when it goes to the application, till that point in time it's completely secure. They can't pull the data out. It's only record by record at best, and that too it's only purpose driven. So I think I gave you a little long-worded answer for the query, but the solutions have to be integrated. They have to be more context specific. They have to have the entire life cycle right from the inception to the monitoring stage.
Right. Now, that's pretty interesting to know, Abhishek. So the next interesting question that I see here, Abhishek, is given the current situation where insurance products had to undergo changes, how were you able to, or how are you able to ensure updated product portfolio is secured and protected?
So I'm assuming that when you are saying product portfolio, it's the insurance product portfolio, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So interesting again. I think one of the key things is that all the insurance companies, and this is something which is seen across, that there is a movement, if I may say, from being product centricity to customer centricity. That what is there in for customers. So you will see over the last few years, if I may say, that there has been very incremental innovation with respect to how insurance companies have come up with products. Vis-a-vis, there has been actually, if I may say, a huge leap in the way the customer centricity has been addressed. Let's say maybe being more hyper personalized, being more, if I may say, contextual to their needs, right? And if I extrapolate this to, let's say, maybe beyond life insurance, even though there is a lot of touch points that are getting automated on customer side for life insurance, the use cases are definitely much more when it comes to general insurance, motor insurance, but they're trying to use artificial intelligence to see how the driver pattern is, and really giving them that kind of progressive insurance likewise. So and maybe people wearing health bands. I mean, there are innovative models which are coming up just to read more about customer, just to give them more contextual products. So it's more, the way I see it is not really it's not something similar to a medical organization where it is more about the IPR. So no doubt the product information, till the time it is made out in public, it is to remain secure and within the four walls. But once it is released, the product information is known to everyone. But it is more about the innovation which is there in the customer centricity, which is actually motivating all the organizations.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I have two more questions which I think are pretty interesting, and I definitely need to ask you. So one of the question is, does your existing cyber security armory afford you sufficient protection under significantly increased load and new modes of working and exchanging information?
You really want me to answer this question?
Your choice.
All right. I'll try and answer in a way that can give some cues
It's more
around it.
neutral.
So,
Yeah.
so I would say no. We have to take some interim steps and solutions which were not there before, and we have to, if I may say, think on the fly, do a lot of projects at a fast moving pace, right? And some of the things are like as trivial as like how do we give those security exceptions still maintaining the controls, because that was more so like on top of our mind, that how we really enable people. So the major portion of it was where we leveraged, if I may say, our existing infrastructure and solutions to facilitate all those things. So how do I use my SOC to actually monitor the untoward VPN and VDI connections? How do I really see the traffic pattern moving? Is it like more closed monitoring with respect to, let's say, maybe my email traffic? So one was more around that monitoring part, and the way we are trying to see was how we can actually leverage that threat intel which we are receiving to be more contextual in that sense. And definitely, as I kind of spoke, we have to scale up our VDI and VPN infrastructure, and no doubt that has different flavors and layers, because the needs actually were not predefined and destined. So the people who were really, if I may say, enabled earlier, and the people who used to be who were enabled actually during the course of this the transactions were very different. So there were, if I may say, the entire journey was very, if I may say, provided us also a steep learning curve, and no doubt there is a renewed attention, if I may say, with the senior management towards the security and BCP topics. So that's where we are, and it's a continuous journey. I would not say that we are there, but yes, we are making huge progress, and our current investments definitely have helped us take time in enabling our people and securing our enterprise at the same time.
Great. So there is a follow-up question on this one, which says, how do you propose to protect data in current work from home scenario? What are your thoughts about it?
So it is more about, I think the concept has been more trivia, which we call by word security by design, and that is what we adopted. So at the onset, it was really more challenging, whereby we have to really carve out what kind of images have to be deployed. And why I said at the onset, because all of a sudden, there was a surge whereby we have to rent out huge quantity of laptops on the market. There was a surge in terms of enabling the 10 clients, whether they can really operate from home and how they can operate from home. So in terms of all that hardening, if I may say upfront, that was one of the paramount steps which we actually carried out in enabling people to work from home. And the second leg was, I think rest of the things, if I may say, which gave us little relief, like our solutions with our vendors, like our printer already has this API integration of Seclor. So we were absolutely really, if I may say, absolutely there were no concerns in that area. That fine, even if he's printing, only it's the authenticated machine which can print, and nothing else can happen. So those were the things which really helped us. But if I may say, the security by design upfront in terms of hardening those images and getting those things and beefing up the monitoring part of it, these were the immediate things which we actually did, if I may say, to kind of go ahead with this. Moving on, definitely we are trying to do many things. There is a lot of thought which is going on how we can, if at all, as I mentioned, COVID-like scenarios, how we can really gear up to have that amount of capacity built within, whether I call about the mobility of assets, whether I call about the solutions with respect to secure collaboration mechanism. So rather than thinking on the fly, can we really motivate our thinking and direction to an extent where that becomes our new normal? We have that capacity, come whatever may be. So that's where we are actually going ahead.
Right. Thanks for that, Abhishek. There's another question which is slightly on a different topic. It's more on are security controls and standards of Indian BFSI sector on par with international standards?
Okay.
What is the thought there?
So, so if I may talk about, because this is talking about India as a whole. I'll try and answer both India and insurance sector. So India as a whole, if I may say, in certain sectors, we are definitely very conservative and we are very well laid out. Especially if I talk about RBI. RBI has, as a regulator, has been very forward-looking in terms of those granular controls, and to an extent, if I may say, so is IRDAI. But if we really compare them with the global regulators like APRA from Australia, Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, or Monetary Authority Singapore, and likewise, there are a lot many other regulators, global regulators. There is no specificity which we can actually bring. We can bring in specificity with respect to how we use cloud, how we use the new age technologies. So that's where, if I may say, the more the controls become prescriptive, the easier it is for organizations to imbibe by, the easier it is. With respect to basically what is there for organizations to kind of have as an appetite. Standards, I mean, I know your question was standards, and I started with regulations per se, because standards are something which we use across as the same. I mean, India also uses ISO standard, India also uses NIST as a standard, but predominantly what we're governed by is, because standards are still like best practices. It is up to an organization to adopt, but it's primarily when it comes as how regulated we are and how it works. So we are decently regulated, but yes, there is a room where we can be more prescriptive as compared, if I may talk about insurance sector. And there are a lot many other sectors where we have to actually do a lot of work, if I may say, where we're still, the best bet is only the ISO standard, which I've seen with the organizations.
Great, thanks. And the final questions, and the questions are not stopping, a pretty interesting one, but this is the final one that I want to take, because this is, in this question, the individual is asking, in this new normal, what are your views to ensure regulator and stakeholder confidence?
So one word, transparency.
Sure.
So I think that would kill a lot. Whether it is your stakeholders, employees, you need to tell them what's the situation on ground. And I think everybody is sane enough to understand that organization is doing rightful and in their right interest. And I think so is the regulator. I actually kind of mentioned IID has been very supportive. They have taken a completely balanced approach. So being transparent to them really has helped us.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. I think there are too many other questions, but I think we'll take a pause here, Abhishek. It was a really enriching session. Thanks a lot for this one. I would like to call up Amit Gupta for the vote of thanks. Amit, over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. So first of all, thank you all for the insightful session today. There are so many things I personally learned from this candid conversation, right? This really enriches me even more, especially with the insurance domain knowledge, the specific challenges, innovation and transformation we're gearing towards. So for that, I thank very much Abhishek and Abhijit, our esteemed audience, Harsh, and all the organizers who made this possible. Thank you so much to all the medical support staff helping us all during the pandemic and our soldiers on the border defending us. This highlights the greater need for protecting our digital assets and data even more. Cybersecurity has always been the field of learning and innovation. So let's learn, grow, innovate. Have a good day ahead, and Jai Hind. I will just request the esteemed audience to just quickly submit a poll which we are conducting now. Your responses would really help us to move ahead.
Thank you all. Thanks a lot for the session. Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks, Abhijit. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day and have a nice weekend. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All the attendees can please submit their polls. all. We'll close the poll in next 20 seconds more. So please submit your inputs. Thank you all. We are just now closing our poll. Thank you. Thank you for your submission. Thank you. We'll see you on the other side soon.